Show. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday morning as we get ready for a little NBA. It should be a good one today. Half a dozen games. The first game on the main slate starts at 7. The final game tips off at 10:30, and there are a handful of games in between. We got a couple at 7 to 7:30 and 8 and 8:30, and then a 2-hour gap. Gundacker, how you doing? How's the week been? I see we had a little meeting in the green room, and you found another aficionado of the Bang energy drink there.
Shout out to Bang, man. It's the only reason I can talk right now. My motor skills usually not a thing at 9 a.m, but I'm always excited to get up and talk basketball with my old pal EMac.
This should be a fun one. We've got a lot to talk about. A lot of teams are on 3 and 4s and or back-to-backs from yesterday. We had I went to bed early before like about 11, so well before those final games even made halftime. But I had to get up early and take the dog out and have all sorts of fun there, write some articles and stuff. But I didn't get to dive into too many of the box scores other than the teams that are playing again tonight, just because I was looking to see who had what minutes and is there anything to be concerned. So we'll be covering all that as we walk through our slate here. We're going to go game by game. Reminder for all you guys that there are 6 shows on after us today. We've got a couple NFL. We have MMA. Right after us is going to be college football live before lock. As soon as they're over at noon, you're going to get MMA live before lock. MMA locks at 1 o'clock today. They are off in an exotic locale somewhere else other than the Northern Hemisphere. So they're going early for us, but late for them. Should be a lot of fun today. NASCAR is over. And then the hockey show was just on before us. We have a large hockey slate today because it's Saturday, which is hockey night in Canada. All right, let's look. We'll talk Yahoo in a minute here, but final thing I want to mention is free content today. The Week 10 NFL top stacks are free. Today, the NBA player rankings are free. The NHL player projections are free. The MMA fighter rankings are free. And then for the next few days, the college basketball projections are also free. Those will be going behind the paywall. Matt Gajeski, who's been doing phenomenal work with the college football projections, he handles all of our college basketball. He likes to get about a half dozen games under his belt before all his models and algorithms are working for him. So that is going to go behind the paywall. Enjoy it now. Give it a test now. But I will say there's money to be made out there in the college basketball streets well before March Madness. First game we have today, Gundacker, is going to be, well, we're not going to talk about Utah and Miami, but that's a single game slate action. But we've got Philadelphia bucket underdogs heading into Indiana to take on the Pacers. Joel Embiid, Matisse Thybulle, and Isaiah Joe are all out there in the health and safety protocol. We have seen Tobias Harris return to action. He actually played over 30 minutes, which is a little bit of a surprise for me, but he looks to be relatively good to go. The only person questionable right now in Indiana is Karis LeVert. He, of course, is dealing with recovering from some hairline fractures in his back. So they don't want to push him too much here and there. What do you like from this game? This game is actually like the second or third highest total, and it's dramatically higher. We have 3 below 205, and then this is the third highest at 217. Take it away, this Eastern Conference matchup.
Yeah, so not only did Tobias Harris play, over 30 minutes, he played essentially the second most minutes on the team. So that should put to rest any maybe concerns we might have had about Doc Rivers easing them back in. And we know, this if this is last year, you get Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid out, you're probably running to play Tobias Harris. So I'm right back there on Tobias Harris here today, a little bit more confident in the FanDuel price and the DK price, looking for 40 plus. I feel like I'm getting a good deal. And then Andre Drummond's still a guy that can get there at 9K. I know the last slate he didn't quite do it, but 50 plus fantasy points is a realistic range of outcomes for Andre Drummond when you give him minutes. So if you do see this game being competitive, we got it up, a bucket as the differentiator here. Yeah, I'm in on Drummond. You probably don't have to get to Drummond at an egregious amount of ownership and give up as much equity as you did maybe a week ago when he was 5K, but he's still got room to pay off 9K on a 6 game slate. So I like him as well. Tyrese Maxey, you talk about minutes. He's out there playing minutes. The rest of this Sixers situation gets a little bit more volatile between, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz. There's a lot of guys that can come in and contribute and kind of eat at each other. But the guys that stand out to me are Maxey, Tobias, and Drummond. On the Pacers side, Malcolm Brogdon would get a boost for me if Karis LeVert sits this one out. If LeVert's in, it's kind of everyone's priced appropriately, and I'm just taking darts that wouldn't have any high tier exposure to anyone in particular. But if LeVert sat this one out, I do like Malcolm Brogdon. He's a guy that can foresee getting 40 plus fantasy points, and at both price points on FanDuel and DraftKings, I think I would take 40 plus. So I don't mind that. Sabonis just really has not been the 10K player, but he's no longer 10K. He's working his way back down. So I don't know if this is the jump on spot just yet, but I'll definitely be watching his price. And if he gets back towards that 8K player, I'll start taking shots on him more and more as we go forward. I'd be more privy to him if LeVert was down today. And then Miles Turner, man, wide range of outcomes for him. Either breaks the slate or breaks your lineup. No tier ones for me in the Pacers unless Brogdon gets a shot without LeVert.
All right. I see a couple of people in chat mentioning that Drummond and Tobias Harris eat into each other's rebounds, sort of, but not particularly. Let's keep in mind that Andre Drummond is one of the best rebounders in the game. He led the league 4 out of 5 years, and he finished a whisker behind, Hassan Whiteside in that 5th year. So, yes, he does not control the entire paint, but remember, Tobias Harris does a lot on the wing as well. So there should be still plenty for Drummond, but he is now appropriately priced for his new minutes workload. There's still a little bit of upside there, but I do agree. Perhaps he won't reach 20 rebounds tonight, but he should still get 15 on that one. Let's see. Final thought here on this one. We got to talk about Remember Me games. Some would call it revenge. I prefer the Remember Me. TJ McConnell over on sponsor site Yahoo is $20. Ideally, we really want to look to him with Karis LeVert out, but in his last 2 games off the bench, he has played 30 and 29 minutes, 40 and 36 Yahoo fantasy points. He did that with 1 steal and 1 block. That is something that usually gets McConnell racing up the points leaderboard. Is he will have games where he has 2, 3, 4 steals, adds in a block, and when those you get 3 fantasy points for those on Yahoo as well as FanDuel, that really starts to add to his total. So he's also been unconscious from the field, 10 of 14, 8 of 11, 8 of 13, 8 of 13. In that entire 4-game stretch, he has only taken 6 3-pointers, which is a little bit interesting because that's usually, while he doesn't have a high volume of them, usually they have him out there to be another shooter and ball handler. So I was a little surprised to see that. Any thoughts on McConnell and anything else that we did not cover for our first game?
I definitely don't hate it. You do he's playing some really high percentage basketball right now. So I don't know how little TJ McConnell is getting to the rack so easily that he's shooting so well. But yeah, man, 30 plus fantasy points is an outcome for him. Well, like you said, it's more of a if LeVert's out kind of situation for me. If LeVert's in 5,600, I need that 30 plus, which, I don't know if the risk reward's there. Even if he, landed on 30, it's not a must, but I like the call out. I definitely would be there if LeVert was down.
All right. Nate Rojas says, don't make this a Yahoo show. Hey, Yahoo, our sponsor of the day. Thank you, Nate, for reminding me. I want to tell you guys how to get in for 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. If you haven't signed up yet at Yahoo, go through the link that is below our YouTube video here in the description. If you click on that, you'll sign up for your Yahoo account, put in $10 and play in 1 paid contest. First of all, Yahoo's going to match you. They're going to give you another $10. And then secondly, as soon as you play in that paid contest, they're going to send us an email and said, hey, this user with this email address has come in through your link, and we'll get you set up with 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. If you're already a member or you want a little bit quicker turnaround time on that, you can reach out to customer support at awesemo.com and the customer service team will help you out there. But remember, if we don't get that email within 48 hours, we're going to close off your account as well. So no screwing around. Next game, we've got Memphis at New Orleans. Both these teams played last night. Both these teams have a 3-4. Last night, only Ja Morant played more than 30 minutes, and he played just 32 in a 119-94 loss to Phoenix at home. On the other side, Brandon Ingram questionable for 2 weeks straight. Goodness. As Greg Ehrenberg said on the show last night, prove it to me that you're actually going to play. I'm not putting him in the projections. That was his words. I use the Awesemo projections. But I just want to point out, it's been a while since he's been out there. I don't know if he'll be back tonight or not. Memphis favored by a bucket. Last night, New Orleans had only Garrett Temple and Josh Hart go over 31 minutes. Graham was at 31 minutes, Temple 36, Hart 38. Of course, if Ingram does come back, he's been out long enough. I would expect him maybe to play 28 to 30 minutes. Most of these guys' prices have increased to an appropriate level, but the minutes, when you're getting Garrett Temple and Jason Hart out there for those minutes, that's pretty solid. What do you like from this one? Second highest projected total of the night at 221 and a hook.
The curious case of Brandon Ingram, that hip contusion, man, it's really really shut him down. But he did participate in practice the other day, and there was there was speculation that perhaps he would play one of this back-to-back series. So look out for that to perhaps be a thing. This Pelicans team definitely needs some help, because Jay Val and Devontae Graham, they're not carrying the weight. Matchup wise, I'm fine with kind of attacking this game almost at a stack level. Watch for Dillon Brooks. Didn't play last night. Maybe he'll play tonight. If Dillon Brooks gets inserted back into this Grizzlies lineup like we saw 2 games ago, minutes become very, very, very diluted all the way around. Ja Morant, I think, was the guy that we can kind of trust to lead the team in minutes and usage, but everyone else really becomes volatile. Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, Anthony Melton, Kyle, the Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets to the game? All these guys just kind of eat at each other, and we don't get like a great deal at any of these price points. So I would be a little bit more cautious on the Grizzlies side of the basketball if Dillon Brooks is in. But I think Ja Morant's still playable no matter what. If Ingram is out, Jonas Valanciunas, Devontae Graham, 2 guys I'm targeting, and then of course Josh Hart likely gets a deeper reach into the bucket of minutes for him. Kind of a peripheral guy first, right? You can go out there and get you those boards, averaging almost 6 rebounds a game so far. So there's a couple of supplementary plays. Jonas Valanciunas is worth investing in for upside. 50 plus fantasy points, not out of the realm of possibility. He's a very curious 1v1 versus Andre Drummond if you got to get to that decision, because both guys are around the 9K price point. I think I'm leaning more towards the Drummond side, but it is closer to a coin flip than anything. So no strong leans here because of the pricing, but definitely could see if Ingram was out, getting to Devontae, J Val versus Ja Morant as higher exposure players for me.
All right. Having a good chuckle there. They were pointing out that I said Jason Hart instead of Josh Hart. Jason Hart, NBA player, college player, 25 years ago with Syracuse, of note, back when I used to watch a fair amount of college basketball. Oops. My apologies there to Josh Hart. All right. Let's see here. I wanted to double check. Okay, so we're good on that. So this game, I think, as you mentioned, sort of the stacking is kind of an interesting take here. The other game is, depending on which site you look at, 220, 221 for the Clippers and Minnesota Timberwolves here. So it's kind of interesting that we're seeing a lot of games these days with much lower totals than what we did last year and 2 years ago. It's sort of there's quite the dichotomy now. Everything had kind of stabilized around, like, if it was 210, it was low. We've seen a ton of games below 205 so far. And I don't think that is just entirely due to less fouls and less free throws, because that you're really only looking at a handful each game. So that shouldn't be dramatically impacting things here. When you have a slate like this where there's it's the dichotomy of 3 games at 217 or higher and the other 3 are 205 and lower, does that influence your player pool at all, or does that just get taken care of by projections?
I mean, it definitely is. Pacing and game totals is something I'm weighing for, like if I want to stack a game 2v2, 3v3, something like that. But as far as like the players themselves, usage in minutes is something I'll scale a little bit stronger. I don't know, to find an obscure example from last night. Denver, the Nuggets scored 105. Well, Jokic had the third most fantasy points on the slate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still can get to these high usage guys that get big minutes baked into them. So I don't get too crazy. LaMelo Ball is the fourth highest scorer last night. Charlotte scored 104 points. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still meat on the bone for some of these smaller.
Davis and Westbrook each had 20 NBA points. The team had 87 and got their ass kicked. So
yeah. Oh God, the Lakers. But no, I'm
glad I was asleep for that one. I had a lot of players in that game too.
I only really care about the total if I want to stack a game or something like that. But otherwise, the player pool, the projections, all that will be more based on the minutes and the usage projected.
All right, continuing along here. Next game, we have the Washington Wizards going to Orlando, taking on the Magic. Both of these teams last played on Wednesday. Everybody should be relatively well rested. Bradley Beal away from the team. He's on the bereavement list, so he will not be available tonight. I think we will be looking at Kyle Kuzma and Spencer Dinwiddie, not necessarily as slate breakers. However, they're both coming in at $22 on Yahoo. That is right around the average player salary. I think it's a great opportunity for both of them to approach 30-35 fantasy points, a little bit of upside. We've seen that they have the most dramatic impact when Bradley Beal is not on the court, and they are two of the three best scorers. The other is the most highly projected Wizard we have off the bench, Montrez Harrell. How does that happen? I don't know, but here we are. The Orlando Magic playing much faster and much worse defense than they have in the last few years. How do you like this game without Bradley Beal?
Yeah, I think this will be from this far out a spot where a lot of people core their lineups. Spencer Dinwiddie, we have him projected it right now to be the highest owned player on the slate, over 30%, and it makes perfect sense. 6,200 on FanDuel, 65 on DK so far this season. When he's on the court and Bradley Beal is, or when Bradley Beal is not on the court, Spencer Dinwiddie is giving us over 1.3 DraftKings fantasy point per minute. And you mentioned Orlando's defense is definitely nothing to be fearful of. So an excellent example of a low total game that's probably going to pick up a lot of ownership, and there's really not a lot of pushback, at least not from me here. I think Dinwiddie could easily get you 40 plus. My soft projections this far out actually have him right about 40 on the nose. And then Kyle Kuzma's in the mix as well. 66, 64 on FanDuel and DK respectively. Another guy that you can pair with Dinwiddie, soak up a ton of minutes, and maybe they combine for 80 plus. You mentioned Montrez Harrell, his DraftKings price point a little bit more welcoming, the firecracker off the bench. And the Magic do play somewhat big. Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba in the front court. So I do like Montrez Harrell to come in and just be an engine. So he's a guy that's averaging the most points per game on the team without Bradley Beal in the mix. So they're probably going to lean on him pretty liberally here. So I definitely think those three guys gravitate towards to the top for me. There was an errant KCP game earlier this season. You got to wrestle with your inner monologue on, is KCP a thing for the Washington Wizards when Bradley Beal is down? He's cheap enough that you take a couple shots on him, but I don't have like a major level of confidence. But at 47 on FanDuel, 4,200, I'm more looking at that 4,200. Can I get to 25 plus on a 6-gamer? I think you could, but Dinwiddie, Kuzma, Montrez Harrell, those are going to be the three core guys that play from the Wizards. What do we run it back with? Well, the Wizards have been strong defensively. So I don't know how much we might have in terms of expectation on the Orlando in terms of real points scored, but we've seen some upside from Cole Anthony. I don't think you have to give up a ton of your equity to say you got there and know that 60 plus fantasy point has been an outcome for him. Jalen Suggs is really cheap on DraftKings, as cheap as KCP, with a little bit more unknown, but he's a shooter, and they're going to let him shoot. dude. And then Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba, both big guys in that front court that can get you the boards. Both of them averaging a ridiculous, like it's crazy to see two guys in the front court averaging 9 and 10 rebounds as co-starters, but they're doing it. And Mo Bamba's averaging over 2 blocks per game. So plenty of girth in that front court to maybe run back against the Wizards. But I think the Wizards will be the core pieces of a lot of lineups tonight. Like I said, we got Dinwiddie as the highest owned guy. So I think for a 204 total, you're going to see a lot of ownership on this game.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense here. I want to say, so the Bradley Beal's only missed one game. It was the second game of the season. So it's kind of hard to know. I haven't seen who they're listing as the likely starter here. In that last game that he was out, there we go. It looks like it was Aaron Holiday that moved into the starting lineup. That's what I'm kind of guessing who is going to be in the starting lineup tonight. I think they're going to, when you're without Bradley Beal, who was one of the leading scorers in the league over the last couple of years, there's a lot of shots to go around. So Aaron Holiday is going to be at the near minimum. He's someone that is a very terrifying player because he's very scoring driven and it can be a little risky. I would rather look to Halzino Neto, who is $10 even on Yahoo, and he's I think he's just under 4K on the other sites. We could look at Denny Avdia, who should also be counted on for more of the scoring, he should have the opportunity to pick up some of those shots vacated there by Bradley Beal. And just to further your point, the Wizards have held 4 different teams under 100 NBA points this season. Over the last 2 years, I think it was like 146 games. They did that 6 times. This is no longer the high-paced, lacking defense Wizards team. They've moved out a lot of players, just having with the Russell Westbrook trade, that's slowing down their pace a little bit. And then now they've got Dinwiddie plus the 3 Lakers here and a healthy Daniel Gafford. So while they are not the defensive stalwarts out there, they are much improved from what we have seen over the last couple of years. So this isn't one of those gimme moments where he's like, I'm going to load up on Orlando. Orlando has now become that Wizards-like defense and pace, not the Wizards. What do you like amongst the Wizards understudies who should be stepping into larger roles this evening?
I not a ton. I've never heard anyone like say Raul Neto and pronounce his name like the long form like you did. So kudos to you.
It's Halzino Neto. That's what they say that on the.
I call him Raul, man. Yeah. I'm Ellis Island of these NBA names, man. There's only a certain amount of people out there that got that one. All right. But I guess Aaron Holiday's bare bones been on DK. So if you had to get there, you're back to a corner. Sure, go for it. But I'm really locked in on the core 3, the Dinwiddie, Kuzma, Harrell. But yeah, the tier right below, I'll take some shots on Kuzma, Holiday, but not a high level of confidence behind those guys.
All right. Hey, I see Spud Kelly is in there. That is Nolan Kelly, master of many things behind the scenes, an excellent DFS player in his own right. Very good at the hockey. He's Canadian. Excellent on the old NBA best ball street. So hat tip there, Nolan. Glad to see you checking in this morning. Reminder, everybody, please do hit that like button. That does help us combat that pesky YouTube algorithm. And we are now well over 65,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. Keep in mind, we also have 2 other YouTube channels out there, the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel and the Awesemo Odds channel. Both of those will be airing shows tomorrow when we simulcast leading up to NFL Lock. We will, of course, on this channel, we'll have from 9 until kickoff for a 4-hour block talking DFS. The Awesemo Odds channel will also have a 1-hour show featuring Ben Raza covering NFL wagering, and then there will be a start or sit / season type question show once again on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel heading into Lock there. So we've got you covered. If you're looking for more than just DFS, no worries. We are now simulcasting here. Who would have thought that possible just a few short years ago? Anything else from this game before we head to the back half of our slate?
No, Chuma Okeke came back, I guess, for the Magic, and there's some minutes there that maybe he's picking up that maybe we didn't place elsewhere, but nothing major. It's the obvious plays from the Magic, really just starters. T. Ross at 150.
Absolutely. Here's a good question here. Do we cover content on spreads for the NFL? Why, yes, we do. We also have a sister site called Awesemo, or it's Odd Shopper. So odds with an S, and then shopper, wait for it, with another S. So it's two S's in that, Odds Shopper. You can go there and shop the odds across all the different sports. We cover all the different player props across half a dozen different sports betting sites. And on that page, as well as what is our other page? If you go to the Awesemo.com homepage, across the top banner, you'll see all of the different affiliated sites that are part of the Awesemo network here. So if you click on the Awesemo Fantasy Football, that's a more season-long football centric type information. Awesemo Odds will give you all sorts of free articles in front of the paywall talking about the different odds boosts, the different games, featured games. We have constantly, we'll have 2 or 3 articles about wagering from different aspects for all of the primetime games, and then 3 or 4 articles, of course, for the main slate, and another 3 or 4 for the afternoon slate. So if you're looking for NFL, this is a great, in sports betting, it's a great resource to have. That is all free in front of the paywall there. So that is pretty cool to look at and poke around. And then the Odd Shopper, I'll put that link into chat. But the really neat thing that you guys can go there is you can do shop NFL. So I'm going to drop that in there, although we are on a basketball show. We'll just talk NFL. But what you can see is when you put this on, you can sort the bets by ROI, expected ROI. How does that happen? Well, the Awesemo projections are actually telling you if you should go over or under, and what is coming out of Alex's models for the different player props. So even if you don't have a subscription here at Awesemo, that is free for everybody. So, you can see that this week, one of the best ROI bets out there is Alex Collins rushing yards. DraftKings has him at 52.5. Awesemo is saying take the under right now. There's a chance Chris Carson's going to be back. That wager's still up on the board. We don't officially know what's up with Carson yet, but under 52, we're projecting him for 21 yards. That's a pretty good bet. You're taking a little bit of a risk if he is the main guy still, with him getting 52 yards against the Packers. Even if he is the starter, that's a tall order as well. So you want to check that out, but that's something that's very helpful. And then I see Gundacker, apparently I'm running for president 2024, EMac 2024. I see Tyler has put up, who should I choose as my running mate? It's a poll out there. You guys can check this out. You've got you are in there. So Gundacker is an option. Adam Scherer is an option. That would be fun. Let's ship my money. We have Alex Awesemo Baker, and then Ben the Better. That's not Ben Rossa. That is Ben the Better. Big difference. Big difference. I would listen to Ben Rossa first, second, and probably third. But we'll vote there. I'm going to vote for you. There we go. So 35%.
Campaign slogan writes itself, man. Like, I wouldn't even need to give speeches. I just stand at the podium and yell, yeah, and then just see
the votes would just come in, right? All right. Back half of our slate here. We've got Boston at Cleveland. Jaylen Brown still out, dealing with a hamstring injury. Lauri Markkanen is doubtful. He is in the health and safety protocol, so he's going to have a negative test to make it back. And then Kevin Love, questionable. He too is in the health and safety protocol, but it sounds like he will be returning at some point, but he did, in fact, end up with COVID. Both of these teams are on back-to-backs. So 3 and 4 for both of them. Last night, Boston beat Milwaukee in overtime, and 122-113. And then Cleveland ended up just crushing Detroit 98-78 there. Oops. And I'm sorry. We forgot Toronto. We'll circle back there in a minute because I wanted to talk about my guy, Fred VanVleet. But Boston here, short. I don't know that shorthanded is the right word, but whenever Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum are out, there is just massive workload available for a variety of players. Even on the back-to-back, I think we're going to look at some guys from that side. And both teams are in that same workload situation there with back-to-backs and 3 and 4s. Start us off here with Boston. What is popping out there for you?
So the two names that stick out are Jason Tatum, obviously, and then Dennis Schroeder. I don't even know this. Dennis Schroeder won a man $100K last night by dropping 53 DKP, 38 real points. The minutes were nuts. The obviously the overtime played a big part, but 40 plus minutes for essentially the whole starting five, not named Al Horford. That lets you know that they're going to be big parts of the minute distribution in regulation. So all those guys are in play for me. I'm a little less on Marcus Smart than the others. I do think his ranges of outcomes become a little bit more volatile, but price considered, Robert Williams has every bit of 30 plus fantasy point upside at his price points on FanDuel and DraftKings. I take it. Jason Tatum can get you 50 plus. Obviously, at 10.4K, you're going to need that 50 plus, but it's there. And then Dennis Schroeder, 5,700 on FanDuel, 6.3 on DK. You really only need to get above 30 to feel like you're getting an okay deal, and he's flexed some upside on a couple of occasions. So there's definitely some very playable Celtics to throw in the mix. They did say Jaylen Brown made the road trip. It doesn't sound like he's gonna play, but I don't know if he's officially ruled out yet. But so something to keep an eye on. On the Cavs side, are we ready to talk about Cavs?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead and lead into the Cavs.
Yeah, life without Colin Sexton continues. Darius Garland, Ricky Rubio, 2 targets for me. Garland at 6,900 on DraftKings is a little bit of resistance for him to feel like the best play at that range, especially when he's going against Schroeder, who's a little bit cheaper. But I wouldn't push back on it yesterday. Slow burn there. The FanDuel price point feels a little bit more warm and fuzzy. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley still deep minute guys as long as Marketing and Kevin Love continue to be out. If we start getting those guys back in, I think the price points are a little overcorrected for what their minutes would be with a little bit of backup. So keep an eye on the statuses of the guys behind them. And then Ricky Rubio, pretty Ricky will grind on some lineups for me tonight. I think backup 27 to 30 minutes is there for him. And he's such an efficient guy. Last night, he had 5 steals, which is insane. But, in the FanDuel world and the Yahoo world, those steals will add up and create, that's 15 fantasy points on steals alone. So hitting just 2 shots from the field, you still turned into a solid play for DFS. So he would make probably my tier 3 pool of guards. There's plenty of, really strong guards in the 6K range. Spencer Dinwiddie's easily 1A, but there's still some viable options a bit behind him in that price range for the tier 3s, tier 2. So those are the guys for me. Give me Schroeder, Tatum, Williams to an extent. And then a little bit of Allen and Mobley if we didn't have anybody starting, or if Markkanen and Caleb are out. Horford on a back-to-back, there's nothing to say that he wouldn't play or would be limited, but it's Horford and it's a back-to-back, so maybe just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I hadn't seen anything about that, and I was doing other things while listening to that overtime game, but the announcers were so busy saying amazing things about Dennis Schroeder that I wasn't paying attention to see if that Horford was going to play or not. There's a decent chance he doesn't play tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. They won't have a shoot around today because they played last night, but we should get that easily with the 5:30. Injury report if it in fact is not on the 1:00 injury report when that is released. Okay, now back to Toronto. How could we miss out on talking about my favorite player in the league, Fred VanVleet? We do have the Fred VanVleet fan club here. I'm going to drop the link into chat there. All you got to do is just sign up. That's the Awesemo DK League. Every time that Fred VanVleet is on a main slate, I will be putting out the Fred VanVleet fan club. It's just $1. It's the best contest on DK because 1, it's only a 10% rate because it's a user created contest. 2, usually 1 or 2 people don't set their lineups because they're accepting the invite from their phone. And 3, if you win with an Awesemo avatar, I will get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. Excuse me. Tell me about Fred VanVleet.
He plays a lot of minutes, and that is something that I like. You good? Fred VanVleet playing 36, 37, 38 minutes. In today's situation, Pascal Siakam being in the mix, it does kind of bring everyone's average expectation down, your median projection down a little bit. I do like him a little bit more when Siakam is out. But Van Vliet's still going to play a dumb amount of minutes, high 30s, maybe even knocks on the door with 40. So I don't mind him against this Pistons team that should offer very little resistance. But at 85, 8,700, we mentioned a slew of 6K guards that will probably eat a lot more ownership and have a higher expectation of being a better value points per dollar. With Siakam in the mix here, I don't have anyone breaking my projections here. This is one of those cases where we talked to earlier about low totals, low paces, and big spreads. I mean, this could get really ugly with the Raptors being 9.5-point favorites. So I probably won't be too exposed to this game. Looking at the Pistons side, last night they had their first game, I believe, without Kelly Olynyk, which I didn't think was an insignificant absence because he had been representing 25 minutes and some scoring off the bench. So looking at what they did last night, it looks like there might be a shot that Isaiah Stewart could be a 30-minute player. He got 2 fouls in like the first minute. And they sat him down for Luka Garza, but Garza didn't really come back in other than the garbage time mop-up duties at the end. And so I feel like if you include those mop-up duty minutes, extra 2 there, and you get him out of foul trouble early, maybe he was going to be a 30-minute player. So if that means something to you guys at 4,400 on DK, maybe throw him in the mix, give him some extra consideration. As far as other guys, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, all in the mix here. Maybe you get we had Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Green the other day. Maybe you enjoy some Cade Cunningham versus Scotty Barnes if you're into rookie narratives. But for the most part, this is probably going to be one of the games I'm least exposed to.
All right, and that's fair. Fair, of course, on that. I actually like Van Vliet, especially with Siakam coming back. Just provides another person he can pass to, another person that the defenses can focus on. Van Vliet's been really good over the last half dozen games, but he kind of was struggling at the beginning of the season. We want to remember there's a lot of turnover there on Toronto with Kyle Lowry now out of the mix. Siakam has only been in for 2 games this year, dealing with that shoulder injury that he suffered at the end of last year. OG Anunoby has been taking a step forward on the offensive game. He's coming and taking more shots, kicking and screaming. The coaches have been begging him to take shots for last season and this season. They're like, no, we need your offense. And this year they're like, no, we really need your offense. And he's still only taking about 12 to 14 field goal attempts per game, which is a little bit frustrating there. But I think with more options and with Scotty Barnes, this is not a horrible team, but they'll be a little more functional. I still don't get why Goran Dragic doesn't want to play for him. He's just not happy there. I don't know. I got nothing.
Precious Achua, shoulder tendonitis. If he doesn't play, maybe some 100K to first darts at a 3,500 Chris Boucher, but Boucher and Nick Nurse, man, there's name a better duo.
Yeah. In the other show, someone was saying, why does everybody get so excited when Chris Boucher is even a potential? He's horrible. Mercurial, I guess, would be highly variant, would be another way of saying it. But he does have 50 fantasy point upside. We've seen it several times throughout his career. That's what is so enticing when he comes into the mix. It's like he's obviously not Boban, but it's like a Boban type player all of a sudden getting unlimited minutes. And it just becomes an amazing spot where it's someone that can just break open the slate. That's the fantasy perspective. As an NBA player, there's a reason he doesn't get these kind of opportunities all of the time. So we want to keep that in mind. But for our purposes, that's why we like him. If he's going to be out there with additional opportunities. There's not much else to talk about in this game that I'm seeing. Let me get back to my notes tab. But we mentioned Achua with the shoulder, Ken Burch with the knee, both questionable. This was back-to-back in 3 and 4 for Detroit. They got gobsmacked by 20 in Cleveland last night. That's really about all we need to know. That does leave us onto our last game of the night. A lot to talk about in this one. This game is 2 hours. It's an island game by 2 hours. So that is something that we'll want to pay attention to. The only injury news that we have right now is it looks like Serge Ibaka is going to be out, and then Marcus Morris still out with his knee. Otherwise, everybody seems to be okay. Paul George is putting up, with the exception of minutes, career highs basically in every statistical category. He's basically leading the team in darn near every statistical category. He is, I want to say he's I haven't looked at in 2 games, probably about 1.49, 1.51 fantasy points per minute, which, while not up in the Giannis stratosphere, is still top 10, especially for someone playing that many minutes. Patrick Beverly gets a remember me game here. He is coming in. I talked in chat. One of our loyal viewers had been to the 2 games in Minnesota, and he said he was asking, "Is there, do we worry about Patrick Beverly?" And I said, "Well, I don't think he guards him that much." And the viewer said, "Oh no, I was at the game. It looks like he does." So Pat Beverly. And I don't knock that at all. Pat Beverly, not really a lockdown defender. Still good at jumping the passing lanes. I want to say he's like 32 or 33 at this point. He's lost not 1 but 2 steps. Annoying, aggravating, pain in the ass. Absolutely, he is elite with that skill set. But I'm not too worried about him going against Paul George. The other thing with George in those 2 games, I think he was down about 10% in his fantasy points per minute, but that's the equivalent of 4 or 5 fantasy points, and all that would take is an extra steal going his way, sinking a couple threes, and that all comes out in the variance. So I don't think that's a direct correlation there, but it's always worth checking. And we do like when people bring up points because they've been watching the game or they were at the game. These are a lot of the nuances that you don't get in the telecast, or as we're bouncing around between all the different NBA League Pass games. If someone's watching their favorite team or watching a lot, they'll pick up things on the telecast, or that maybe somebody hears something in the presser after the game, etc., or in some of the coaching discussions, and that's always important information. So I hadn't had a chance to talk about that, but I didn't want to come off as snarky in the chat if that's what it seemed like I was doing to our viewers. No. I like to hear all the input that we have. And I think it's important because basketball, one of those sports that you can't quantify it as much as we would like, because it's so individually event-based throughout the entire game. Everything's fluid, coaching decisions, rotations, bad refereeing, lucky bounces, unlucky bounces, right? It's hard to really quantify it in specifics. It's more of a narrow defined range of outcomes, but not as specific as we would like. So handing it back over to you, where does Paul George fit in on your player pool tonight amongst the top end? And is Karl Anthony Towns there as well?
Cancun on 3.
Under trois. Wait, no, wrong. That'd be the French Riviera. Okay, I'm sorry.
Man, so Paul George is right now projected to be the 2nd highest owned player on the slate according to our ownership projections. Makes a lot of sense, man. He fits all those check boxes you talked about, unquantifiables, man. We all love that late night hammer, and for a guy like Paul George to have one of the highest raw point projections going that late, you love having him raising your lineups. But from a price points per dollar standpoint, at 10.6K, he really hasn't blown you out the water, even in 38 minutes in 3 of his last 4 games, not over 50. So I could definitely create an interesting, is it fade worthy on this side slate to get a little bit of leverage by going the other way? Certainly something to think about. I like him in and of himself. Obviously, you're just not going to get these type of minutes, this type of usage often on a short slate and not get there. So Paul George will definitely be a staple in my lineups. I'll have to wrestle with my exposure. If he stays at under 30%, I'd be fine with, dropping half of my lineups of having, a little bit of leverage on him, but also not feeling I'm all in. So yeah, you can give me some Paul George, a couple other uncomfortable names that at some point they got to start becoming comfortable. Nick Batum, 5,400 on DK, man. It feels like every time he's hitting the court right now without Marcus Morris, he's giving you a puncher's chance at 30 fantasy points or greater. So I don't mind putting him in the mix. Minutes have been there for him. Ivica Zubac is starting to contribute from a fantasy standpoint. I don't mind him at 5K to get 30 plus. I really like the Clippers starting 5, and I think only Greg Ehrenberg joins me in my appreciation and love for Eric Bledsoe Why can't I quit you? I play Bledsoe every slate, man. I don't know why. And some days it goes better than others, but knocking on the door 5K on DK, I'm looking for close to 30 fantasy points. Reggie Jackson in the mix. There's not one starter in the Clippers lineup that I wouldn't get to. As you get deeper into your bigger field tournaments, Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, Isaiah Hartenstein, I guess they would have some spots to drop in, but no high level of confidence there. And on the T-Wolves side, last night was so weird that that the T-Wolves were smoking the Lakers in the fashion that they did, and they got 9 points from Anthony Edwards. He had one of his worst, I think it was his worst fantasy scoring night of the year. He had 5 turnovers, 9 points, only shot 4 for 11. So you might expect some positive regression his way. Maybe that comes at the hands of D-Russ going down a little bit, but I do like D-Russ in LA, 7K. I think you can get 40 plus in a nutshell from D-Russ, Edwards, and Cat. So they're all in the mix. If I had to tier them, it'd probably Cat 1. I just like the safety centers give me a little bit more. D-Russ and Edwards closer to a coin flip, but I think Edwards would be the next guy up. And then Patrick Beverly, 4,200 on DraftKings. Yesterday, he projected as my top value play of the slate, and he delivered even in just 24 minutes of blowout basketball. He just stuffs the stat sheet so feels like methodically that he just gets it done. I think 4,200, that's a little too cheap of a price point. So unless you're worried about foul troubles and the unquantifiables with the Cancun on 3 narrative, I think Beverly becomes one of my highest owned value plays on DraftKings.
All right. We'll say that over on Yahoo, Beverly is 15. I'd rather roll the dice with one of the Wizards discount players over there, or find the $7, and $7 doesn't seem like a lot. It's a chunk on Yahoo where you just have the $200 salary cap, $10 for the minimum there. I would try to get to Kyle Kuzma or Spencer Dinwiddie first, and then probably Zeno Neto. even I'll say Raul or Abdia at $10 even before I get to Beverly. I like him better on DraftKings for sure. A little bit on FanDuel. I don't play very often on FanDuel, so proportionally, I don't know where he would land for me. But he's not out of my Yahoo player pool, but it's hard to click on his name at 15 with those other alternatives tonight. Let's see here. Reminder to everybody, if you guys want to get 25% off an Awesemo 1 week all access package, you can utilize the NBA Strategy Show, all caps, one word, NBA Strategy Show. That will get you 25% off your first week of Awesemo Platinum. If you're looking to just play NBA DFS, you can sign up for a 1 week package. That's $16.95. Or if you want to get one of our express packages, that's $4.95 per week. No promo code for that. That's just the low price it is at all times. And we have a lot of people that like our NFL express package at $4.95 because it has all of our showdown content for Monday, Sunday, and Thursday night football in addition to DK tiers. And then you don't get the full slate player projections or ownership projections, but you get the ownership and player rankings, which basically is effectively the same thing. And if you're just making a handful of lineups, or you want to build a cash lineup or what have you, it's just good to know who's going to be at the top of either of those rankings. And then from there, you can reverse engineer your team for less than $1 a day. So I want to throw that out there. What do you think about any of the reserves here for Minnesota or the bench players? They've had some wonky rotations lately. It's hard to trust because none of these guys are great per minute consistent fantasy producers or consistent fantasy producers on a per minute basis, but they do have some boom bust upside when their shot is falling or the rebounds are going their direction. Is there anybody you would bring within your circle of trust, or maybe they can view the circle of trust from across the room at least?
You see that, Simba? That's the Timberwolves bench. You must never go there. No, not really. I got okay minutes on Beasley and like Jaden McDaniels, point per minute potential on Jared Vanderbilt, but no one's like popping for me. So I probably not. No.
Okay. It's a short slate. and then this will be on the late slate as well. So we do have to issue maybe a Nas Reed and Showdown, perhaps.
If you baked in foul potential or something, like Nas Reed would be next man up potential for a showdown if you're trying to get, NFL-y, right? Different, where you don't really care about the optimal. You want the more unique lineup. Yeah, maybe Nas Reed if you thought something squirrely could happen.
Yeah, because we're gonna talk ourselves into it. It's the only game after the 8:30 lock, and we have 2 hours to sit there and start to be like, maybe I'll make a couple of showdown lineups here. Why not? So definitely want to take a peek at that. That is where you can start building out some sort of if-then statements within your teams. Like I was building some today for the Miami and Utah game, and I said, all right, well, what happens if Gobert gets in foul trouble? Let's, maybe we'll make Hassan Whiteside a captain on this lineup and do a few other things and play for either a Utah victory in some fashion, or somehow it's going to be, Hassan Whiteside that gets out there for 20 minutes instead of 15. And those are the kind of things you want to start to look at in the showdown format here. Producer Tyler, if we want to do the Awesemo Hall of Fame, that could be kind of fun. I'm going to call it up here myself so I can take a peek at it. But reminder, you too can be in the Awesemo Hall of Fame. All you got to do, we love to celebrate wins here. All you got to do is send a screenshot of your win to Awesemo HOF on Twitter. You can tag me, you can tag Gundacker, tag Lofty, you can tag the Awesemo_COM account. We like to see these. So this gets you into the Awesemo Hall of Fame and gets you onto the screen. But you know what gets you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content is if you finish top 3 in one of these contests, no ties, actual 1, 2, or 3 in this, and you have the Awesemo avatar and it's 5,000 people or more. Entry fees do not matter. 5,000 people or more will get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. Not a bad way to go. Again, you can sign up for that Fred Van Elite Fan Club. All you got to do is beat 74 other people with an Awesemo, and you have the Awesemo avatar. I'll get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. You win that, just shoot me a note on Twitter and I'll get that taken care of. On to the Awesemo Hall of Fame here. We have Adam Ship My Money Sharer up there with the $40,000 victory here in the NBA fadeaway. Nice job there for Adam. Moving along here, we've got Keg Stand Bro, good name there. It says finally finished top 3 in a 5,000 plus entrant tournament, only the nickel contest, but I'll take it. Nice. He also gets himself 30 free days of Awesemo premium content because he did win. He got first and third, still only get 30 days, but nice job by Keg Stand Bro there for that. Next one here, we've got double shot here. We've got Henry and we've got JF Hockey. Justin says, thanks to the Awesemo team for helping me finish in the top 2. Best finish ever. Granted, it was just the quarter tournament, but slowly building that bankroll. Get a nice little flex there. I like to play. I call myself the last of the big spenders, man. But it's fun playing in these low dollar contests. You can still get $200, $300, $400 down a night playing in dollar or less contents across the different sites. It's a lot of fun and it's not as much risk. And you get to try out a whole bunch of strategies. So that's a lot of fun here. We got NTKC coming in there, $1,500 win. Nice job by him. Continuing along here, we have, let's see, bets, Gundacker. We have the Awesemo odds victory here. We have a 3-bet parlay, $200 into almost $1,400. That is a nice ROI there. And last one here, we have another bet, $10 free bet. Did a 7-pick parlay and won $818. Wow. Talk about ROI there. That's infinity ROI, a free bet into $800. I like it. I like it a lot. But that is the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Let's see. Oh, I see Seth Hader is in chat. He did win 2 Fred Van Elite Fan Club contests ago. Hat tip to him, but I won it 3 contests ago. So we'll do battle again tonight, Seth. My internet enemy, my Twitter enemy. Final thoughts before we walk on out of here, Gundacker.
I'm hoping there's not a lot of bombshell news, but it is Saturday. A lot of, you mentioned back-to-backs, a lot of 3 and 4. So maybe we get some unexpected rest that the beat writers overslept on. So just keep your head on a swivel. NBA is going to NBA. But for the most part, I'm happy to have a 6-gamer, man. We've been getting 3 games. We're getting 11 games. Like, I like right in the middle. And tonight's kind of my wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Coming on up next at 11 o'clock here, we have the college football live before lock. That is going to be Matt Gajewski and Ben Raza. And right after them at noon, we will have the MMA live before lock. It's Pete the Heat Rogers who made his NBA debut on the Slate Starter podcast Friday. And Greg Ehrenberg said, "Not so fast, my friend. You're coming into my streets. I'm going to come into the MMA streets." Greg Ehrenberg hosting today for the MMA Live Before Lock. You guys should know Greg's very versed in MMA. He's also done a fair amount of radio hits and other media appearances for MMA. He's very, very sharp on that. He just doesn't do as much in front of the camera here at Awesemo. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. You can follow Gundacker on Twitter at Gundacker. You can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Awesemo _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.